Today's transmission is talking about the fuels that we use to energize our lives. So changing fuels is the topic for the OPP program, Optimal Performance Program. And what does it mean to change fuels? I'm going to start with an explanation, and go from there, dropping into meditation to receive these codes. I particularly enjoy offering the teachings in the form of the Source Speaks transmissions so they can be listened to while laying down and relaxing. It's more of a contemplation than just a thinking process about the differences that I'm presenting. And you can sit quietly and take notes if that works best for your learning experience. But get into a comfortable position, either sitting up straight with a tall spine or laying down flat and completely relaxing. Get everything you need around you, pen and a piece of paper, something to drink, whatever would make your experience more comfortable. Drop in and give your full attention and presence to this process. And what does it mean to change fuels? So I'm going to describe, and we're just going to play with this in our imagination. Let's visualize there being two fuels that we can use to run our lives, to supercharge our lives. One fuel is run by fear, and another fuel is run by love. And when we are run by fear, we're moving away from something unwanted. And the definition that I'm subscribing to love is moving towards something that is wanted. There's a really different quality to our life experience when we're moving away from something unwanted versus moving towards something wanted. And the fuel we're using matters. Most of the time, I'm seeing people doing exactly the same actions, but getting drastically different results because the doing that's infused with more being, with more love and passion and joy, has exponentially higher quality yield than the same actions run by fear, unwanted, lack, scarcity, worry, doubt. So it matters what energy is fueling our actions and the activity that we engage with. The outcome is determined by the quality of the energy that's infused into the doing. That's the big message that I've gotten from Source and wanted to share with you about the difference between motivation, and I'm using the word motivation to represent the moving away from something unwanted. We're motivated to get out of poverty. We're motivated to get healthy, but because we're afraid to be sick. So the motivation is coming from moving away from the unwanted. Even though it looks like we're moving towards what is wanted, we have to look to the deeper down subconscious program that is fueling that motivation. And inspiration is moving towards what is wanted. I'm assigning the word inspiration in spirit to represent moving towards what is wanted. And it's fueled by passion, by love, by joy, by excitement. And it's propelled forward. So let's talk about some terminology that we can assign. And we're going to refine it and comb through it. Fine-tooth comb through some thought processes that we engage in to understand a difference. So motivation is a push, where inspiration is a pull. So if we notice the difference between pushing something forward versus it being pulled forward by an invisible force. Or I actually like the image of being catapulted, like being in an arrow shooting forward, or even a boomerang. And the image that I got from this experience in my own world, because the first, we'll just say 3/4 of my life was run by motivation and drive, pushing against and moving away from. And that resulted in getting some things accomplished, but the end result wasn't joy or deep satisfaction or even fulfillment. And it had a detrimental effect on my body, my health, my cells, my relationships, my well-being. So I started changing fuels about 10 years ago and noticing the difference, because I felt like I had taffy stuck to me from, let's just say, the past and childhood experiences that I was running away from. And no matter how fast and how hard I ran, this taffy kept pulling me back. And those rubber bands, no matter how far I stretched, seemed to pull me back. So it felt like I could only get so far, and then I would just be fatigued. And this Source Speaks transmission is inspired by some kindred spirits that I've seen talking about and posting about feeling burnout or having chronic fatigue, feeling exhausted. I hear this terminology quite a bit. And I consider it analogous to using fossil fuels. When we use fossil fuels, we constantly need to be replenishing that external resource, and it burns out. And some fuels burn out more quickly than others. They might burn fast and hard, but then they die out more quickly. And some fuels burn more slowly and more consistently, but they all eventually burn out. And I consider inspiration and moving towards what is wanted. We tap into this infinite source, this free energy, electromagnetics, the momentum and spin of the entire multiverse. And it's effortless. It carries us on the currents, and it's sustainable. And one of the biggest experiences or trappings that I see with people is that to change fuels, to go from motivation to inspiration, a big wave of energy just came through. Excuse me. And that happens when I'm in this open channel space. I will sneeze, I will cough, the energy will move through my body. So see how it might want to move through your body. Sometimes I get thrill bumps and shivers. My eyes water and tear when I get into this meditative space. The body will have a visceral reaction to shifting the energy and transforming, because energy is neither created nor destroyed, it's only transformed. So we take the energy that has been pushing and we let it transform and alchemize into a pull, into electromagnetics, into attraction. That leads me into what I was going to share about momentum. Most of the time when I'm working with people, I notice, especially with adrenal fatigue and chronic fatigue of different kinds, autoimmune, as well as body aches and pains, contraction in the field. Contraction would be fear, expansion would be inspiration, love, passion. when I share these teachings about changing fuels and noticing the quality of the energy that's running our experiences, what's being infused into the doing, changes everything. So when someone is changing fuels, the momentum is going to slow down, which means all of the energy that they have been running for a lifetime, for decades, all of that adrenaline and stress hormones, they come to a halt when we stop running that fuel. And we go back into a 0 point. It's almost like the goo of transmutation that a caterpillar goes through when it turns into a butterfly. And sometimes changing fuels and going back to 0 point to stop the momentum, it's like a train switching tracks. We want it to slow down before it switches tracks, or there can be a huge collision, a huge negative outcome. So that changing of fuels can be very challenging for people. So most people keep running the same habits and then just overlay a smiley face on top of it. Say that it's being run by inspiration and excitement and passion, but underneath that, if we strip back a few layers, the same unconscious programming is running the show. The fear, doubt, and worry is really the fuel underneath the fuel. And therefore the results won't reflect the new shift in thought processy experience paradigm. So that's why we want to go into these higher states of consciousness and shift our belief systems by rearranging the patterning, the neural pathways. This is what I call the quantum healing experience, where we are actually altering our state, accessing a theta state to rewrite and rescript into the belief systems and the programs that were passed down through the DNA and genetic lines. And we all have been born into a certain level of unconsciousness, no matter your status or race or state that you grew up in. So they come through in different degrees, and we want to get curious and excavate, take inventory, be honest with ourselves, to go deeper into the layers of what is running us, what is running the show, and realize through this process that we have more choice and more participation, contribution than we have been exercising. We want to do that very deliberately and consciously by shining a light into those shadowy parts of the personality. We assign archetypes to them to better understand their strategy and their story, and we start to shift gears. And this is a whole big, beautiful practice that's part of the Optimal Performance Program that I have been sharing as part of my empowerment coaching for years. It's been over a decade since I created that course. And it's important to practice together and to have the level of reflection and support and accountability for this to go well, for us to be seen, for us to be open, transparent, vulnerable, aware. The stories we tell ourselves are not always true. It's important to question what we believe, even what we think, and be with it from a new place, a clear and clean place of connection to source power, the fuel feels real different. We go from the analytical mind, the cognitive thinking, to intuition and a deeper knowing. We go from feeling bubbly and light and effervescent. We access that state of joy instead of living in the density and heaviness, maybe even all the way down to despair and depression for some people. It can get real heavy when we have been trying our hardest and running away from using the fuel of fear to try to get to our destination because we've been taught that that's the way you do it. And it can be extremely disappointing when over and over again it yields dismal results. So we want to practice this into being, to regularly explore and experience our world in a new way. Instead of willing ourselves forward, we're being carried on the waves of passion and compassion. The energy running the activity, the quality of the energy running the activity creates the outcome. So feel that in yourself. Trust the indicators of alignment. Our feeling body and our emotions are our guidance. And if we haven't practiced listening with a clear understanding of what these indicators mean, our interpretation, we might need to clear out the overlays and excess debris on the emotional body, the unresolved issues, and the way that we have shut down our intuition, extrasensory abilities, psychic and telepathic abilities, the gut, the nudges, the instincts need to come back online so we can trust ourselves. This is very, very important that we're balancing the hollow spheres. We're no longer just running from the head brain, but we are listening to the heart brain and the belly brain. And these three power points are accessed and harmonizing, synchronizing with one another. This is source powered, plugged in and connected to the infinite wisdom living library of the earth, plugged into the heavens through our solar sun and this infinite radiant source of cosmic energy. Solar powered, tapping into the wellspring, the infinite wellspring of source power. The sourcial energy feels so different in the body. It's levity, it carries us. The first thing that needs to come online is a deep faith and belief in the possibility of being carried on the currents of life. That is no longer necessary to push, to will, or to force anything forward. Yes, you can make it happen, but it does not yield the high results you're looking for. It's no fun. It doesn't bring joy and connection, soul nourishment. So take inventory and look at the areas and aspects of your life that are effortless, the things that you could do all day, that uplift your spirit, that give you a bounce in your step, where time compresses and expands, you lose track of the to-do list. We tap into quantum time instead of linear time when we start being fueled by passion, which means time expands and becomes infinite. Time is working on your side. It's a tool that you use to manifest. I call it tapping into quantum time. Notice the qualities of love. Use the word joy or passion if love has too much of a trigger, taintedness from too many interrelational experiences. I'm talking about a deeper divine love, a love of life, the joie de vivre. Just feel that in your bones, the tingling and the vibrating of the cells as they come alive. Just imagining and visualizing living from this fuel. And most people fear, just the fear body, the fear templates will question and doubt the possibility of living with this energy running the show. The fear will question if it's even possible to get anything done. Will we just be floating around in a bliss state? Nothing will happen if we drop into being. From my own personal experience, it's taken many years of truly retraining myself, and it's a constant process and unfolding. These Source Speaks transmissions and the pandemic has helped me tremendously to let go of my need to overdo, to overachieve, to overproduce, based in fear. The fear of dying. That was the belief that was running. I need to work or I will die was the false belief system running my show. Underneath all of the joy and inspiration and excitement that my programs and projects bring to me, it was still had this rotted root system, this control mechanism that didn't bring the fullness of the clean fuel that wanted to come through. So when everything shut down and I allowed myself to drop deeper into being, I realized that I needed to come to zero, the 0 point, to reset the tracks, to change the momentum. And it is a constant unfolding, but I can truly say there's even more creativity, excitement, passion, enthusiasm, desire for my projects, for my clients, for my work, for my Source Speaks. I don't force myself to do anything, even if I have a wish list, a practice, a commitment. I don't push it forward with my will. I allow the inspiration to flow. And I diversify my day so I can have the newness and excitement of variety. There are many ways to restructure and redesign your world and your life so it is constantly being up-leveled and fueled by greater and greater capacities to experience joy, enjoyment, pleasure, passion. Even if success comes with the old fuel of pushing, adrenaline, overworking, making it happen, the success isn't nearly as sweet as satisfying as when the success comes from this place of overflowing. What I have seen from my decades of work with thousands upon thousands of people is most people, through conditioning, are doing what they have been shown and told as the way of working in the world. And it leads to burnout. It leads to exhaustion and fatigue. It leads to illness. It leads to pushing a boulder uphill for a very long time. And it seems as soon as they stop, it'll run them right over and roll right back down. That can lead to feeling despair or futility. And I understand the frustration and depression that comes from doing everything to the nth degree that you've been shown and told, and it still doesn't work. And I'm here to remind you that it is good news when something doesn't work. It's showing you that the energy is off, and we get to redefine it, redesign it, so it truly works. From an inner impulse of connection to spirit that is constantly guiding the way. So the first thing that I'd like for you to do in this practice of changing fuels is to get real honest with yourself. Go through your life with a fine-tooth comb. Most of this will be refinement for the people who work with me, since we've been practicing for many years, understanding what's running us, the subconscious programming, even the personality and the archetypes that have been running the show. Notice the different archetypes. What is the personality that uses fear as a fuel? I call it nervous Nelly or inner critic. We have these different archetypes we can identify, and there's another practice that I'll share with you to master that process. And notice what the archetype would be of the one who uses passion or love, or inspiration as their fuel. I call that archetype the superhero, the angel, the king or queen. Even an archetype like a warrior. We want to be real careful and clear what kind of warrior, or even what kind of king. Is it a critical king? A conquering king, which would be ran by fear? Or is it a compassionate warrior that is truly driven by love and freedom and justice? Let's make sure that even with our archetypes, we are real clear what the fuel is underneath all the layers, down to the core. Because I truly believe that at our core, we are ran and fueled by the divine spark. The human heart holds the keys of love, unity, harmony, understanding. This is our original divine blueprint before all of the programming. And the DNA is a potentiality that can be accessed. It's an energetic imprint that can be upgraded, transmuted, transformed. We direct it with our consciousness and our mind, commanding it to upgrade the codes towards the crystalline structures that are serving the golden divine. Those are the names that I give to the new earth that we are birthing, and the higher octave of master level soul self that we are practicing into being through embodiment. The divine play the lightness of our being. These words matter. Our language matters. Our thoughts, our words, our deeds, our actions, all are reflecting the belief systems, the energy running the show. So be willing to change fuels and take a look at not only how it feels, but your outcomes. If the outcomes are mediocre or dismal, if you desire more results, utilize that feedback loop. The first indicator of alignment is how it feels. If it feels off, it is off. If it feels on, it is on. Start to clean up the vibratory tones of the emotional body and wrap the emotions back around the pillar of light and the feeling channel that is plugged directly into source. And then we want to build our foundation of trust, trusting our guidance, boosting our belief in ourselves, having faith in this universal life force, this higher power, beyond what we learned and have seen through a religion. This is a much, much different relationship to whatever you want to call the essence, the life force energy that pulses through all things, the purity of that source power. We are an antenna and a channel, a conduit, resourcing that energy. When we tap into that infinite abundance, prosperity paradigm, it shifts the way that we see and operate in the world. The fear fuel is infused with the lack and scarcity paradigm. Know that when that fuel is running, you will see the world as limited and less than. That is the cue to listen to and contemplate. Where did that come from? You see it everywhere because the belief systems are projecting like onto a movie screen the experiences in the world. And don't take my word for it. Play with it, explore it, experiment in this space. Change the belief systems all the way down to the root system, the root structures. Practice into being this prosperity paradigm, the love vibration, harmony, balance, trust. Project that out onto the world. Your passion, your joy, your enthusiasm, and see what happens. Notice what you see. The brain works through association and biomimicry. It will start looking for things that match the vibration that you're giving off. And when that happens and you start to retrain the circuitry, this will take time to change fuels, to shift the momentum, letting the fear momentum slow down to zero, and the inspiration, the fuel of passion, to start to build some momentum and speed up. Then things start to shift in your life. You start to tap into the infinite well of wisdom, of resources, of power. You start to feel like you're being uplifted and carried. It becomes effortless. There is a sustainability to these energies. Free energy, electromagnetic fuel, the spin that keeps things in orbit. And if this seems out of reach and too far-fetched, we can work together and do a personalized healing session to extract the subconscious programs that are blocking the flow. We can identify the glitches and the attachment we have to a certain belief system or character archetype that has been running the show and is not willing to budge, to try something new. All of these characters and archetypes were developed to keep you protected and safe. They typically will hold on pretty strong and not give up their fuel and their seat of power. And we bless them and we thank them. There are certain fuels like gratitude, appreciation, compassion, and understanding. We offer these new fuels to the people, places, and things we come in contact with. And we bless that. We bless the teachers that come in all forms, shapes, and sizes. And we gather up all of our tools and this information. And we sit in contemplation. We allow there to be a rearranging and a restructuring of our particles. And recalibrating our practices, our daily habits and routines must shift to reflect this new fuel. And we listen deeply when we come into a situation, in contact with a circumstance, person, place, or thing. We ask ourselves, what's running the show? Which fuel am I using? Which archetype is leading the way? And what am I choosing consciously and deliberately now? Be easy about it. Find the graciousness. Be kind and compassionate towards yourself and others as you practice into being a whole new way of operating in the world. This is big, huge work, and it is a lifelong practice. Thank you, thank you, thank you for listening, for being part of this transformation just with your presence and attention. You're adding onto the quantum field. Know that that is how important you are. Be very, very clear and specific about what you're giving your attention to. Where attention goes, energy flows. And pay attention to the quality of the energy that you're flowing towards the outcomes you wish to see. Blessings, blessings, blessings on your path. Namaste.